Hello, my friends, and welcome to today's design session. Today, I'm going to walk you through the beach house, the 4 guest bedrooms that I did in this very tiny 2,000 square foot home, which means we got some really small bedrooms. We're going to cover 4 of them today, and this is going to be so much fun. If you're new to the design sessions, I want to welcome you. I'm Rebecca Robeson. Right now we're in a series where we're going through the beach house, a project I recently finished, and I'm showing you item by item the process that I went through to get to the finished results. The YouTube videos on this project will be coming out in January, but between now and then, you guys are getting a first look. And trust me, the look that'll be on YouTube will be entertaining, but it will be from a helicopter, not down in the weeds with me. So, guess what? I'm super happy. Why? Because I am sitting among my samples. It takes a long time for me to pick out the things that I want for each and every room. The bottom line is I do a lot of planning, a lot of shopping, and a lot of selecting in advance. What's going to make today's episode a little different from the last 2? We've already done the kitchen. How many of you saw the kitchen? I hope you loved that. And we've also done the great room. Today we're going to address the 4 guest rooms. And these guest rooms are very small. In fact, they're tiny. I thought it might be interesting for you and I to go over a list of the things that I commonly see as mistakes people make in their bedrooms. There's things that I see repeatedly, and to be honest with you, every one of these 4 guest rooms that we're going to see today has these common problems in them. Maybe not all of them, but certainly some, if not a lot. Often I go into a room and the bed is on the wrong wall. There is a right wall for a bed to go on. Furniture is often too big. If your furniture is too big and your room's too small, you're never gonna love that room. Nightstands are often too small in bedrooms. They're either not the right height, off the floor or in relation to the bed, or they're just plain the wrong size. They're super small, which means inefficient, and they don't create the symmetry that you often want out of your nightstands. Also, I see mismatched nightstands often. A lot of times I see bedding that's too colorful. You buy bed in a bag, you found a print that you liked, and it sets the whole mood and the tone for the room. Well, that's one way of picking a color palette, but it's not always the best. And if you have a small room in particular, the less you have in print, the better. Window treatments are often hung just on the windows, not beyond the windows, but just on the windows, not maximizing their space. The window treatment episode on the design sessions will teach you what a no-no that is and how to do it right. Area rugs are too small sometimes. Sometimes you'll see an area rug and it's like as you step out of the bed. Do you know what that does? That just makes your small room look even smaller because you've cut it up with a different material. Walls are often too dark in a small bedroom, and the colors themselves are just not restful colors. Not enough ceiling lighting. Oh my gosh. If I had to narrow it down to 2 things, I'd say the biggest mistakes I see in bedrooms are no ceiling lighting or putting your bed on the wrong wall. Ceiling lighting is essential in every single room that I design, and I would highly encourage you to do basically ceiling lighting. You know what that is? It's canned lights. It's canned lights that are positioned in the absolute right location for you. Closets are not organized for maximum storage. I would say the majority, at least in America, the majority of us have closets that are already built into our rooms, and you open it up and it has a shelf across the top, and that's it. TVs are often an eyesore in a bedroom. If you have a TV in your room, is it just sitting on top of a dresser, or is it sitting on top of a highboy? Is it on a tray table? I mean, I've seen TVs in the strangest places, and often they're the big tube TVs, so they stick out. They're eyesores. I also find that a large piece of furniture, when you walk into a room, now you know what I'm talking about. Even if you don't have this, I bet you've been into a room, you open the door and bam, big, tall, highboy dresser or armoire right within feet of where you just walked in. It's the first thing you see and it hits you at eye level. Big mistake. Art and mirrors are often placed awkwardly. They're not placed with any kind of balance in mind. The design session all on mirrors and art would help you a lot. And then the last thing, and it's the most common, way too much stuff. If you're here and you're part of the design sessions, my guess is you care about what your house looks like. Little stacks of stuff all over the place is not going to get you to your goal, which is to have a beautiful home where everything has its place and there's a place for everything. Now, I want to go through and show you the before pictures of these 4 bedrooms in the beach house. And as we go through, keep in mind the list that we just talked about so that you can identify, oh, that armoire the moment you walk in, which is exactly the first thing I'm going to show you in guest bedroom 1. GB1. Oops. Big problem. Do you see what I see? Yes, the moment you enter this room, there's an armoire, so it has that bam in your face look and feel when you first walk in. That's exactly what I was talking about. They put the beds on the right wall. So this would be the focal point wall. The wall straight ahead could have been, but with that one window to the side, it would just be problematic. As we come around the room, we notice a few things. First off, there are these 2 sconces. That's the only switchable lights, except for this ceiling fan, which was super out of date, switchable lights in the room. There is beach, live a good life. That's cute, but it's kind of understated for the room. Now behind this door here, once I close the door to that entrance to the room, you'll see that there's a closet door behind there. Do you see what the problem is? Do you see how these are hinged on both sides here? What does that do? They fight with each other because they open on top of each other. You could not have the entry door open and the closet door open at the same time. This wall texture is, it's a hand skip trowel that almost has an orange peel effect. So very rough skip trowel. Creates texture, a lot of movement, and in a small room, it's not that effective. Well, it's effective, but in the wrong direction. So that's GB1. As you walk into GB2, you open the door, the first thing you notice is that you're about to hit that nightstand. You barely miss it. It is so close to the door. The bed is not on the focal point wall, it's on the wall to your side. Definitely don't want to do that. And then on the other side, there's another nightstand, but they don't match and neither do their lamps. Looking straight ahead, you'll see lots of print here on this bedding, but it's green and brown. So it sets a very dark color palette for this room. And then as we go around the room, we see that we have the 2 sconces and a Tahiti poster. Now this actually, I give them kudos for this. Given what they were working with, 2 sconces here, having a poster in a vertical, because it's vertical space available, was perfect. It actually was symmetrical. They've taken out what was normally a closet niche and they've built in. And inside of these cabinets, there's a small television. This right here is your closet space. That's got to be like 3.5 feet. It doesn't give you very much long hang. GB2 definitely had some improvements that could have been made. Now let's move on to GB3. Uh-oh, GB3's got the same problem as GB2. The bed is on the wrong wall. Because there's this large window here and the bed's here, basically if you put the bed sort of in the center, you'd be covering the window partially. It made all the sense in the world that they put the bed to the side of the window, but what did that do? That created these little tiny nightstands. I believe this is a set. Now, huge print tropical fabric on the beds. Do you see how it just sort of soaks up the room? It just makes it feel like a lot. Okay, now we're almost at the last and final room and we call it GB4. In order to get to GB4, we were going to have to go down the scary staircase. Ah! Okay, good news is it also has 2 windows. That's good because this is in a basement. It's a daylight basement. Windows over here, that means this bed is literally against that wall. You know how hard that is to make? The art had to be over to the left. Why? Because of the sconce was in the way. Those are the kind of things you change to make it right. So that gives you an idea of what I was dealing with when I got to this project. And now I'm going to show you what I did to fix it, make it amazing, and create the most amazing bedroom. If you have a big bedroom with a retreat, obviously you add more furniture. But if you have a small bedroom, you need to have 4 basic things that you keep in mind. Number 1, you got to have a bed. The size of the bed is going to be determined on who's sleeping in it, what the needs are, and the size of the room. The second thing is you need nightstands. Nightstands are just practical. They also can create symmetry if they're done right. I prefer to do a pair of nightstands matching, and I like them to be as big as possible. So it's not at the same level as the mattress at all. It's usually higher. The third thing is you got to consider your clothing storage. If your room is super small, you may not have room for a dresser. All the more reason why your closet needs to be well organized and outfitted to hold all your stuff. The last thing is a place to sit. If you can have at least a chair or a bench in your room, it's ideal. We all know that when we put our clothes on and we want to put a pair, every morning I put my shoes on. I even have a little bench in my closet so that I can sit and put my shoes on. Those are the 4 basic necessities. Now, in the previous design sessions that we've done on the beach house, we've talked about the process. And I think it's really important to know the order that you do things in. I've already established for you some important things. Today, I'm not going to go into those details because we have 4 bedrooms to cover, but I am going to give you an overview. Remember, anything that needs to be done that's construction related. You might want to put tile on the wall or stone or wallpaper. Those kinds of things need to be done early. Then when all those construction decisions are made and you know where your furniture is going to go, then you can go shopping for your furniture pieces. I think it's a big mistake to buy a bed or to buy a dresser or to buy anything for your room before you know if you even have space for it. The last thing that you do for construction purposes is your paint. So remember, don't just go in and paint your rooms first, because once you do, you're stuck with it. And guess what? You are not going to want to put holes in your ceilings because you have fresh paint on your walls. As for guest bed 1, which is what we call it, it was a 13-foot long but 9-foot wide room. That's really narrow and really tiny. Booyah! Look at this, you guys. Oh my gosh, already just having the lighter colors, it feels so much bigger. We're still going to have 2 beds in it like they did before, but now we have a focal point wall. So I started off with my 4 important things. Number 1, a bed. So what I selected was extra long twins in fully fabric covered upholstery. I decided to keep the headboards much lower than what they were previously. If you take a look at that before picture, you'll see that the headboard height was actually more than 50% of the wall. What was cool about these particular beds is they're made in Italy and they were actually hinged on the outsides of both of them, so the mattress and the whole thing comes up, and it provided additional storage, which, as you might well imagine, storage was the most important thing. The second thing is the nightstand. The nightstand that was in there was so pinched between those headboards that I found once I got the size of my twin beds in there, I knew how much space was left over, and I found and had custom made a nightstand that's covered in bone. Inside of each one of the nightstands, here's the thing that you should know, and it's kind of cool. This right here, I'm not going to show you because it's private, but this has a welcome to the guests to the beach house, and it tells them the Wi-Fi password. We have an electrical outlet inside of every single nightstand. The nightstands actually ended up having 2 drawers, which was perfect. One for the person on the right and one for the person on the left. So we've kind of taken care of and thought through every detail and aspect of what a guest would want, even to the extreme of this. You might want to send mermaid kisses to your Aunt Juliet. Yes, and there's already a postcard stamp on the back. Not kidding. So in this room, this is actually the larger of the 4 rooms. This is a 9 by 13. That extra 2 feet of space gave me room to actually keep a dresser in that room. I got rid of the armoire that hit you like this in the face, and I added a dresser. Inside the drawers, there are 2 of each. Look at this. This is a robe. It's a spa robe for the guest who sleeps on that side of the bed, and a spa robe for the guest who sleeps on this side. So keeping it low and putting it on the opposite side of the door to the closet. The closet before was divided up with a couple of bars and some shelving, but I went in and I customized it. EKD did all of our closets for us, and you'll notice one of my signature things that I'm really into these days is having shelving that has lighting in it. And then the last thing was seating. Again, I had a couple more feet, so I was also able to add benches at the end of each one of those beds.
We don't need our words to speak.
So here's how I came up with my color palette for this room and most of the rooms in this house. I started with an area rug. I love this rug. It's very tight woven, so it's nice and flat to the ground, perfect for sandy locations. Looks incredible with our floor. But the rug is what set the color palette in here. A lot of times I'll do bedding if I find bedding I love, or a piece of art. And in this case, I started with the area rugs. I found rugs that I loved that I thought fit the color scheme, the palette, the overall feel of the home. For my walls, I had already selected my focal point wall, which is the wood looking wall, but from there, what was I going to do? I didn't want it to go from this tile to paint. And on either side of the walls, I used wallpaper, vinyl wallpaper that looks like grass cloth. I love it. First off, it's super wide, so you don't have the seams as often as you do on most grass cloth. But the best part is it's washable. Think about it. Because this room is so small, these beds have to be against the wall. There's no other option. That means people's handprints are gonna be getting on these walls all the time. This will be super easy to sponge clean. I wasn't wanting to pick this color, and I wasn't wanting to pick this color in the brown or the white. I wanted something that was like, if I blurred my eyes, it just sort of looked the same, similar. That way, this line of this wall and this line of this wall would be less obvious, and it would just flow from the focal point wall to the other walls. I did ceiling lights. That is a reading light. So the reading lights can be dimmed at night, or someone can turn it up, sit right here, and they can read in bed. 3 oversized globe light fixtures. They're pendant lights, and they're so cool, very bubbly, and it almost looks like the water that comes up on the beach. So you guys know I love window treatments, right? I just think they're amazing. But like I said, the room is super small, and I don't want to make it look smaller. This is solid white. I bought this banding here, and this banding is completely separate. They're sewn together and sewn along the leading edge. And then in the center, I wanted to do a valance. And a valance is something that softens things. It also eliminates that space above the top of the window, and these were not high windows, so I wanted to kind of mask that. All right, the next thing is my art. It needs to do something, add something. It's a large piece. Why did I do a large piece? Because a bunch of pieces of art just gets busy. A small piece of art gets lost. So a single large piece in your color palette can make all the difference in the world. And it was just framed in a nice white, clean frame. In addition to art, I had accessories. And this is the type of thing that I use for the accessories. I found baskets in the colors of the rug. Some nice accessories that pull and tie our colors together. One last thing that you may not think of as an accessory, but I actually pride myself in these little tiny details. In every single bedroom, I bought hangers to go in the wardrobes. Every guest room has hangers that specifically are selected for the design of the room. This is GB1. It's restful, it's peaceful, and you know what? It looks so much bigger than it did before. So we're gonna go out of the door here from GB1 and go straight down the hallway to GB2. You can see how that side view of the bed is not very impressive, where just something as simple as turning the bed onto the wall that is the focal point wall can truly make a big difference. Does this feel like a 9 by 12? No. Why? Because of this. Floor to ceiling, wall to wall mirrors. Remembering what the wardrobes looked like in these rooms before, they were all antique, dark wood, kind of small cabinets, and they housed really small tube televisions. Looking at the 4 basic, most important pieces in a bedroom, the first thing, the bed. I chose a low profile bed. And when I say low profile, I mean the headboard was low because of the window. I didn't want to block out natural light. These were platform beds, all in one piece, and this is the finish that I selected for this bed. From there, on my SketchUp model, I was able to measure how much space I had left and right for my nightstands, and I got just as big as I could possibly go. Even a pull-out here, so you can put a cup of coffee on this. So the nightstands then had a tray that was movable that could be used. And then there was a drawer below that, drawer number 1 and drawer number 2. Believe it or not, I was able to have a tray table, a pull-out tray, and 2 drawers and still have open space below the nightstand so that your eye went underneath and it wasn't a solid piece of furniture on either side. Little things like that make such a difference in how you feel in a room. As for storing the clothes, in this room there was no room for a dresser, no additional pieces of furniture. Each drawer is specially lit. Each closet is specially lit. I spared no detail when it came to thinking about a guest's needs. What I would need is a place to store my luggage. Yep, walk on into the room and slide it on in, close the door. So easy. In this room, it just so happened, it worked out perfectly that there was a place that I could add a bench at the end of the bed.
Everybody's been saying.
I found this bench and it is a rattan open weave bench. You know what that does? That gives the eye the ability to literally see through it. So again, it doesn't feel bulky. It doesn't feel like, oh, there's so much furniture in here. No, it feels great.
But I would never, ever.
I found this really great area rug. And the reason I have a piece of it is because I bought it in the size it came in and I had it cut down.
I never, ever seem to be over.
And with the area rugs, you want to know how I determined the size. I went as far to the left and the right as I could because the larger the rug, the bigger the room.
Lucky me, I won.
So I go as wide as I can, but I'm careful not to bring it too far this direction so that there's still room to walk into the room, to the wardrobe, and around the side without being half on and half off the rug. Wall to wall, floor to ceiling, mirrors. Yes, in a tiny space. Do you know what a mirror that goes full length? Do not put baseboard on it. Do not. If you take that mirror all the way to the floor, do you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna make that room appear 100% bigger.
And in a week or two, I won't remember who you are.
One of the things that I also kept in mind in GB2 was the view when you're in the great room looking down that hallway.
I'm on the right track.
So these light pendants, I've never seen anything like them before. I absolutely love them when I saw them, and honestly, they are so perfect.
Lucky, lucky, lucky.
There's only one window in this room. I was not gonna put a guest in a room that they couldn't open a window. First off, you wouldn't even be able to comfortably reach over that headboard to do that. I was not gonna do that. I talked to the contractor and he found a hydraulic lift motorized system that we were able to add to the windows in these bedrooms. I took the window treatments, not just at the window, but on the walls beyond the window. I moved them out. And that's what created that soft, I call them sloppy Roman shade. There's a Roman shade in the same fabric. And you can see it has just a really casual look to it and no lining on that.
Lucky, lucky, lucky.
This photograph by Mia Del Casino, it's interesting. I met her during this project because I fell in love with this in a small format. So I contacted her. I said, can you make this thing huge for a wall? And she said, absolutely. We've kind of become friends through this whole thing, but look at this. Isn't this just so calm and peaceful?
Ain't no looking back, I'm on the right.
Now you can see the use of the white linen bedding, just like we did in GB1. But in here, instead of having the blues and the greens, it's all neutrals, flaxes, even soft grays.
Lucky, lucky, lucky me.
Great television, a place for some accessories.
I guess that I was born beneath a very lucky star.
I did really cute hangers in here too. Isn't that so cute? Look, I've never seen hangers like this before.
I guess that I was born beneath.
You can just sort of dust away. I don't know what these are for, little baby brooms. So yeah, bottom line, great room that we call GB2. I mean, it's just a lucky guess, right? But which bedroom do you think I'm gonna go to next? How about GB3? Let's go. 9 by 11 size room, and I added again a queen size bed in the center of the window.
Hopes and wishes.
Now in this room, there's actually 2 windows, so I had to deal with this one over here as well as the one straight ahead of me.
Weary eyes.
The second thing is the nightstands. In the nightstands, I ended up going with this really amazing wood. This is like a reclaimed rustic looking wood. It's in a Claro walnut. Also, the nightstand had sides to it that were steel, like this. On those nightstands, essentially, I took the queen size bed and whatever space was available, I had these nightstands made in the width that would give me the maximum amount of storage. Number 3, clothing storage. In this case, I don't even need to go into the details with you because it's identical to GB2. All the same amenities in this room that we have in the others, and I mean, all in all, I just think this room is amazing. I didn't do any window treatments. I just have the roller shades that come down. I make them stop so that it looks like a valance as opposed to panels. Why? I don't know. I guess I just thought this room was a little bit more masculine. I guess I had their 20-something son in mind when I designed this room, thinking, well, what would a guy like?
All this time you thought we'd never pay the price.
The only thing that's different in those 4 things is that a place to sit was not possible. There was not enough room in this room for me to add a bench or a chair or anything additional. I figured they're guys, they don't care if they sit on the bed, right? They're never gonna make the bed the whole time they're in there anyway, probably. They'll be fine, sit on. In fact, just slip your flip-flops on and you'll be fine. You don't even need to sit. That's what I was thinking, something like that. Now, let's talk about the other elements of the room, how I tied the rest of it in. Just like in GB1 and 2, I started with the best, most amazing area rug I've ever seen.
Back from another
And it wasn't that far off of the size that I needed. All I needed to do was actually cut down one of the borders on one side. It had borders all the way around. Actually, this is the part they cut down. This is the border, right? Turns out that was like the best thing ever to do with that rug. Once the area rug got laid before the furniture arrived, I went in there and I took a picture of it. Where the one side of the border was taken off, that's the side I pushed right up against the mirror. Do you know what that did? It made it look like a huge, it went like this and then it hit the mirror and then your eye went like this and back around, and it was twice the size rug. I'm telling you what, they got their money's worth. They got 2 rugs for the price of 1. All right, let's talk about, we did the floor, let's talk about the focal point wall.
And now we see it.
Is that cool? Do you know what that is? It's tile.
They should have fooled her band of baddies.
Trust me, if you're gonna do this, I told the tile layer, this is how to lay this because of all the things. You want it to line up in the center, go out from side to side like we do with flow. So what's gonna happen with that print or that pattern when it hits the wall, the mirrored wall? It's gonna create an additional pattern. I had to be happy and to be sure that I liked the pattern it was gonna create.
Kind of virus am I to you?
So what was I gonna do on the rest of the walls? I'm gonna go from that to this. I don't think so. Why? That is way too much contrast. I found wallpaper in a similar color, and this actually is grass cloth, so it's very textured and very masculine, and I had that applied to the adjacent walls. Incredible pendant lights over the nightstands. You know why I do pendant lights, by the way? Have I ever told you? Pendants over a nightstand frees up your nightstand for all the stuff you want to put on top of it. So that's the cool thing about doing this. It's super efficient, space saving, okay?
With eyes wide open.
Well, of course, I did a light above the bed for reading. I also did some lights on the side wall, the wall that was covered in wallpaper, because I knew I was going to do an art-ish thing over there. But you know what I didn't need in this room? I didn't need lights for window treatments. I think there's a fine line between enough and too much. So in this room, I was able to, because I did not do window treatments, I did a light fixture in the center of the room, kind of a Sputnik type, not over the center of the bed, over down near the foot of the bed, not the headboard part. That gave light spread out throughout the room, and it looks amazing as it's reflected in the mirror as well. But here's what pulled it all together. Are you ready? I decided, this is our guys' room. Let's make this into a surf theme.
With one exception.
This signed and numbered collector's surfboard that is literally inlaid with all kinds of woods. In what colors, ladies and gentlemen? These. That piece of surfboard, that art piece, was amazing. The funniest thing though, when it came in, remember, these rooms are tiny. Even though these rooms look and appear bigger than they were before, they're not, because I didn't move any walls. I did some trickery, yes, with mirrors, yes, with rugs and other things. This is I bet if I had a tape measure, this would be about 24 inches away from the wall to the bed. That's pretty tight. Well, guess what? This amazing surfboard that I bought, that I wanted to hang as art, has a fin on it. And the fin made this thing stand out to here. That gave you this much room to walk by. That's not gonna work for anybody. So at the last minute, the art installer said, well, do you want me just to cut the fin off? And I'm like, no. Why don't we cut a hole in the wall? Cut the drywall, cut the wallpaper out, and slip that fin right on into that hole. That's how we have to think. Not just outside of the box, but inside of the wall. So I'm moving on to guest bedroom 4, which means we have to go downstairs. Since GB4 is downstairs in the basement right off the garage, I wanted to make sure that whoever was a guest in this room felt just as special as everyone who was sleeping upstairs. So I put extra thought and attention into GB4, and I have to be honest, it's one of my favorite rooms. So no more wah, 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 I got sent to GB4. No, GB4 is now super cool. Don't you think? I call this my garden room. So let's talk about the 4 important things. Number 1, the bed. This is the only bed that's not a queen or king. This one is a full size, right? So we've got all the different sizes of beds. Beautiful iron bed, custom made. It's got these high posts here, but I had them make it for me low. Why do you think I did that? I don't know, maybe something about coming in here to this really tall thing that would not have been very pleasing to the eye or feel very good. I could have used a queen size bed, but let me tell you why I didn't. There was a ledge all the way around the room. It was weird. If I could have taken a jackhammer and gotten rid of it, I would have. But water probably would have seeped in through the walls and no one would have been happy. So even though this room was technically 9 by 11, it really wasn't. It was a few inches smaller. On either side, I've got these great nightstands, a pair, as I often do. Look, again, a pull-out shelf, great for your book that you're reading, your devotional or your journal. Now the nightstands are wider than any of the other nightstands in the other rooms. Why? Because I chose a full-size bed, giving me a few more inches on the width of the nightstands. We have the 2 nightstands with the open legs, so it's very open looking. The third thing is the clothing storage. Here's where I totally changed it up in this room. Instead of creating a closed-in closet like I have in the other rooms, this one is open. Basically, this room is for the free spirit, the fun-loving. That's why I think I would love it down here. I figured, who's going to be allotted this room? I'm guessing, but I'm thinking probably kids, teenagers. Now, do you remember upstairs in the great room? I used these pipes on the bar area, on the shelving on the bar, and on the shelves on either side of the dining room. So we use these again as part of that rolling rack to give it a super rustic, casual look. Well, let's talk about the flooring. This room is different. Of course, I did this amazing mirror, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, and what a huge difference that made. Even if you look at where the floor meets the mirror over there, it just looks like that pattern just continues on and on and on. It looked used already, like it had been around, like it had been used and abused and had been around for a long time, and it kind of went well with my urban chic look. I also love the fact that in between the tiles, it's got terracotta. So I went with that and I used terracotta colored grout in between this flooring. Oh, and then on top of the floor, I decided to use an area rug. Now here's where it all changed. Do you see how there are principles that I go with and I stick with? But every one of these things has exceptions. Now in this case, I loved this tile so much, the last thing I wanted to do was cover it with a rug. So instead of using a rectangular wall-to-wall almost rug, I used an animal skin. What I loved about it was the very random shape of it. And because it was random, we could like angle it slightly and get it to sort of fit under the bed. For the walls in GB4, I have always loved the look of plaster crumbling walls with the exposed brick peeking out. My final call was to hire my favorite faux artist and recreate the look. So Nicole painted the bricks and then she plastered over them and then she painted them some more and then she laughed on plaster and clumped it on until we got the look that I wanted. For lighting in this room, I did not need to do the pendant lights. In fact, I don't have any lights hanging in the ceiling. Again, something quite different than the other rooms. In this room, I had window treatment lights because I had a lot of window treatments in here, 2 windows and full-on window treatments. I also had art lights that would go on one wall and light up this amazing art I had.
Because you gotta be something.
This is an actual lamp. Do you remember what I was talking to you about upstairs? The reason we often do pendant lamps over nightstands in a small bedroom is because this is taken up by a lamp space. A pair of lamps will create symmetry. These lamps are amazing. They're made out of little tiny shells, and there's a drum shade on it which keeps a more modern look to it, and it stayed in that really beachy, almost in a way, urban chic garden beach. Since my focal point wall was the wall that had the bed on it and had the nice big window, taking those window treatments nearly all the way from side to side was the way to go. It just gave a soft look in that room. Shades up. The room does actually lighten up considerably.
You gotta be such a mystery.
Do you remember how in all 3 of the other bedrooms, the color palette was determined by my area rug? And I said that's one of many ways to determine a color palette. There's another way too, and it's one I use often, and that is art. I just thought, you know, those are so like vintage and cool and hip, so it started this whole thing for the room.
You go free.
The frames alone are an expensive part of this, but these vintage botanicals are inside of each one of them. I love the green, the white, the cream, the pillows, the bedding. These pillows are all custom designed. Do you recognize this? This is the fringe that I used on the window treatment in GB1. I found this throw. This is amazing. It is cashmere. And we actually put this throw at the right underneath of the pillows that you sleep on. Now, I really actually did absolutely no accessorizing on either one of these tables because of the size of the lamp base. So it's a choice you can make. Because this had a shelf below and some extra things, I was willing to sacrifice this top. But if you have a small space and you need to use your nightstand tops for something, try using a pendant lamp. It looks great. And then here I had a shelf made because right here, this is an iPad. You know what it's for? Most people that are millennials, I'm guessing, really don't even watch television anymore. They do this. And that is how GB4 turned out. So that pretty much wraps it up for the 4 guest rooms at the beach house. I hope you enjoyed that tour and seeing more of the details that you're never gonna see on YouTube. Things that can help you as you're making your selections when you're doing a bedroom. We are gonna have a design session focused just on the master bedroom itself. It's a kind of a different animal in my opinion. I will see you at the next design session. I hope you guys are having a great holiday season. You may notice that we have not done any Christmas decorating videos on the design sessions this year, and there's a reason for that. If you have not purchased the Design Sessions holiday series from past years, do that. If you want to know more about how to decorate your home for the holidays, we've covered it from stem to stern, more than you could possibly ever need or want to know. But it's there. This year we just decided to stay focused on designing our rooms one by one. I really appreciate you guys. I love the fact that you're here. We're going to be going on into the new year and it's going to be amazing. See you guys next time. Thank you. Bye-bye. It may be a wrap, but I just remembered something. There's still more on your PDF handout, tips on how to decorate small spaces, things like that. Make sure you take a look at that, and I wish you the best of luck. God bless. Bye-bye.